Hi guys, I am Talisa with Talisa Aquarist, and today I want to make a video just talking about the basics of betta care, what you should know if you own a betta fish or if you're wanting to own a betta fish in the future. I have made over 100 videos on YouTube and not one of them is directed towards betta fish care, which shocked me. I didn't realize I hadn't made one yet, so that's what I'm going to do today. It should be fun. I have been caring for betta fish for over 6 years, about 6.5 years now, and I love betta fish. I think they make great pets. I'm very passionate about properly caring for betta fish. I love helping raise awareness and just helping others with their betta fish. Helping them determine if their betta fish has a certain disease. If you have any questions about your betta fish, if you have a sick fish or just a question about tank, water changes, anything like that, plants, stuff like that, tank mates, please reach out to me. You can ask me questions down below in the comments, or you can go to my YouTube or Facebook and message me privately. I try to respond to everyone who messages me. I love being able to just talk with people and help them out with their betta fish. Okay, so let's get started with what size of tank your betta fish should be kept in. Now, this is kind of a tricky question. It's different for different betta fish, but as a general rule of thumb, I like to do like anywhere from 3 gallons to 6 gallons for betta fish with heavy fins. If they have large, heavy fins that weigh them down, they do less swimming, and if they try to swim more, it stresses them out, so they just don't require as large of a tank for exploring. And for betta fish that are either king betta fish, so like giant betta fish, like the one behind me, oh yeah, you can see him back there. He's in a 40-gallon tank, as you can see. He's big. He loves his 40-gallon. Female betta fish have shorter fins. Plakat males, also other betta fish with just shorter fins. I like to keep them in like 10s, 20s. I have one in a 40, obviously. So really just use your best judgment. Preferably nothing smaller than a 3-gallon, 2.5 gallons minimum. And I only keep disabled or really old betta fish in that small of a tank. So really, I guess good medium ground is just go get like a 10-gallon tank or a 20-gallon long. Betta fish love 20-gallon long tanks. So yeah, go do that. And next is you want a good heater. I don't care how warm you keep your house, you need to keep a heater in the tank. Like betta fish, it's really good for their tank to be like above 80 degrees. And most people don't keep their house above 80 degrees unless you live in a different country. Most people's houses are much cooler than that. So get your betta fish, once you have a tank set up for them, get them a heater. And next, betta fish really thrive in heavily planted tanks. I have several of mine in heavily planted tanks and they love it. They love exploring through all the plants, swimming through all of the plants. It just makes them feel more safe and secure, and they have more spaces and little nooks and crannies to explore. So I would say do your best to create a natural environment for your betta fish. A natural environment would include live plants, driftwood, rocks, just organic materials. If you've never had a planted tank, I highly encourage you to learn about keeping them. I am going to leave a link down below in the comment section it will take you to a YouTube video I have out, and it's how to maintain a planted tank. And hopefully that will help you get some basic understanding of how to set up a planted tank that maintains itself, one that's easy for you, not one that you have to have a bunch of CO2 and do a bunch of water changes and add a bunch of fertilizers. I don't really do that here on this channel. I don't have anything against it. It just doesn't really make sense to me, and I'm slightly lazy, so. Another thing to consider is, do you want to keep other types of fish with your betta fish? If so, I would highly recommend getting a 20-gallon long tank, because the horizon of what you can keep with your betta fish is just that much more broadened. There's not much you can keep in a 10-gallon without overwhelming the bio load. Better yet, get yourself a 20 or a 40-gallon like what's behind me. And then you can keep even more different species of fish with your betta fish. Something to be aware of, not all betta fish are going to get along with tank mates. I have some betta fish that eat shrimp, so maybe don't keep shrimp in the tank. I still keep shrimp in the tank with my betta fish because they don't eat all of them. They just keep them from really overpopulating the tank. So it's not an issue for me, but shrimp can be expensive. Once they start breeding though, you shouldn't really have to buy them often at all. So that's something to keep in mind. But if you have a very heavily planted tank, any betta fish, whether it's aggressive or mild, is most likely going to get along with tank mates, because the more plants that are in there, the less the betta fish can see around the tank, and it won't be able to see all of its tank mates very well. And it will just kind of have its own space that it will keep to for the most part, and it'll go explore other parts of the tank. But after a while, the fish just they have their area of the tank. Bottom dwellers stay at the bottom, betta fish stay about in the center or top of the tank, and they all just claim their territory and get along great. The more plants, the better, honestly. You can never have too many plants in a fish tank, especially one for a betta fish. And if you're going to keep a filter in the tank with your betta fish, I highly recommend a sponge filter. A lot of professionals recommend sponge filters for natural tanks. I have them in my tanks, some of them, not all of them. I love them. If you're going to set your tank up as like an ecosystem tank, do a dirted tank like what I do with my betta fish tanks, you don't need a filter if there is a lot of plants. But if not having a filter in the tank scares you, by all means add a little sponge filter and you should be good to go. Your betta fish will be very happy. Let's just talk about the basics of betta health for a bit. Obviously, a heated tank is a must, otherwise your betta fish will be stressed, it will contract diseases easier, it just is not going to be a healthy fish if the tank is not very warm. But another thing is, betta fish, it is very healthy for them to flare. So you can get a mirror and put it in their tank. You can get a mirror and put it in their tank and let them flare. You can have two tanks next to each other with a divider and pull that out every once in a while and let them flare at each other. So doing that for a few minutes every day is good. If you don't have the time, that's fine. It's not like it has to be done. But flaring them is healthy for them. It helps their digestion, it helps fin growth, it helps get blood flow to those fins that are otherwise just sagging behind them as they're swimming. But flaring really opens up those blood vessels and gets the blood flowing through their fins better, which, as you can imagine, is going to help their fins regenerate new growth and just heal better if they get any damages. There are a lot of different diseases that a betta fish can contract. I'm not going to go over all of them in this video. If you have a betta fish that's sick, you can reach out to me privately and I can help you determine what's wrong with it and just a course for treatment and maybe help you figure out what caused it in the first place. But if you have a warm tank for your betta fish that's heavily planted, chances are your betta fish isn't going to be a sickly fish because it's not going to be stressed. And typically, betta fish get sick because of stress. That's not always the case, but it's typically because the environment they're in is stressful, which causes them to become stressed, right? I feel like I've said stressed way too many times. Sorry. But yeah, I think you guys kind of get what I was getting at. Just create a natural, peaceful environment for your betta fish. Contrary to popular belief, betta fish do not just live all their days in puddles. They live in rice paddies, and so sometimes during the summer, a lot of the water will evaporate out, and so they will live in pretty shallow water for a time, but that is a more stressful time for them, right? And then it will fill back up. So try to keep your betta fish tank your betta fish in a decent sized fish tank. I don't ever encourage anyone to keep their betta fish in a little 1-gallon bowl or even a 2-gallon bowl. It's just not healthy for them. And another topic to address would be what to feed your betta fish and how often to feed your betta fish. I personally love feeding my betta fish frozen mysis shrimp and frozen bloodworms. I am wanting to get my own culture of black worms, so that's something I want to do in the future. That's something else you can feed your betta fish. And I feed my betta fish 3 times a week. So I feed them Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And they're healthy. Now, if you have your betta fish in a more sterile environment where it's not an ecosystem tank that has lots of little things scurrying around like microorganisms for them to eat, I would recommend feeding them probably a little more than 3 times a week, maybe bump it up to 4 times a week. And I don't recommend feeding pellets. Flakes are okay if you get a healthier type of flake. You know, it's easier and cheaper than feeding them frozen foods. But yeah, I prefer the no processed foods for all of my fish. I don't really give any of my fish processed foods. Occasionally I'll feed my goldfish some flakes or something, but yeah, make sure you just find a good quality food for your betta fish. The food you feed your fish also affects the environment of the tank, actually. So, you know, the water can be worse quality or better quality depending on the foods you feed your fish, interestingly enough. I haven't really dived into that real deeply, but that's just something to keep in mind as well. In the future, I'm wanting to set up a 20-gallon long tank for a betta fish and plant it heavily and add tank mates, and I want to film the whole process of me doing that just so you guys can see what to do and what not to do when setting up the tank for your betta fish. That may be a few months out in the future. I probably won't do it until we move and I have a fish room, because I'm wanting to, you guys can probably see it here, I have this 20-gallon long that my axolotl is in, and I'm wanting to move my axolotl to a 40-gallon tank, so the same size of tank that's behind me, not in this same tank, but same size. And so I want to upgrade her to a 40-gallon. She just moves around so much and she produces so much waste. I feel like a 40-gallon would be just a much better size to keep an axolotl in than a 20-gallon long. I had done research before getting Squishy and read that 20-gallon longs was the perfect size for an axolotl. They could live in them their whole life. I sort of disagree. I don't think it's abusive to keep an axolotl in a 20-gallon long or anything like that, but I wish I would have just started out with the 40-gallon breeder tank for my axolotl. But the 20-gallon long will look beautiful set up as a heavily planted betta fish tank. It's on a stand all of its own, so it would just be kind of like a standalone tank. I would like set it up in my bedroom or something, and that would look pretty. But yeah, be on the lookout for that. If you haven't subscribed, please go subscribe. It's going to be a lot of fun setting that tank up. But let's see, where was I going with that? I got a little sidetracked with my axolotl. Oh, I know. Speaking of tank mates for betta fish, I had been talking about keeping betta fish in a tank with other fish, and I would highly recommend starting out with a 20-gallon long or 40-gallon breeder if you want a betta fish living with other tank mates. Unless it's like snails or something, then you can get a 5-gallon or 10-gallon. But if it's something bigger than snails or shrimp, I would recommend a larger tank, and it's just going to be funner. You know, the bigger the tank, the better. The more fish, the merrier. You know, I love bigger tanks. I always had small betta fish tanks. I'm not doing that anymore. I'll have some of my older betta fish in small tanks, but from here on out, we're going big. Oh, another thing I wanted to mention is I'm going to be starting a betta fish experiment here pretty soon. And I'm going to be doing a heavily planted 75-gallon tank. I think betta fish are misunderstood. I think they should be able to live together. I think they're aggressive because they're separated when they're little and just kept by themselves. I mean, if you did that with humans, they would be aggressive too. I've had betta fish live together somewhat peacefully, and I think that if I changed their environment more and just tweaked it a little bit more, it could be successful. So we'll see. And I've known other people who have done it, so it's not like I'm just out here trailblazing on my own. There are other people who've done it successfully. So I'm very excited about that as well. So I'm making this video now, but in the future, I'll probably make another one once I've done the experiment. If it's successful or not, I will follow up with another video on beta care and just if they've been misunderstood or not. I think they probably have. I think they can live together. Well, I know they can live together. A guy to go check out on YouTube is Alexander Williamson. He has, I think, 4 betta fish living together in a 20-gallon long, which I thought was kind of small, but they live together peacefully. I think it's like 2 males and 2 females or something. I don't remember. It's been a while back since I watched his video, and I don't remember what the video is called either. So, sorry, that wasn't very helpful. But I'm just pointing out it has been done. I'm very excited for this experiment. I'm hoping I can just keep a male and female together and let them spawn together and let them raise the babies together and just leave all the fry in the tank and grow them out. That's why I would have such a big tank, so all the fry could grow out in the tank without me removing them, and then I could sell them together, like keeping them together, and you guys could have multiple betta fish in your tanks that are peaceful. I'm really excited about it. I have like a big vision for it. It's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, that's just the basics for betta care. Obviously, I will follow up with more videos. Oh, later this week, I will be making a video of good tank mates for betta fish. And this goes for almost any betta fish, whether it's aggressive or not. These would be my recommended tank mates for the betta fish. And obviously, that goes without saying that it would need to be in a heavily planted tank with plenty of gallons of water to accommodate all the waste that the other fish would be producing. Even if you have a filter on the tank, you still need a large tank if you're going to have multiple fish living in it. I feel like I'm kind of rambling at this point. Note to self, do not make a YouTube video right before you go to bed because you will be too tired to focus. Anyhow, let me just do a little recap of what I've gone over on just things that will help your betta fish thrive. So get a 10-gallon or 20-gallon long, preferably. If you need to go a little smaller, that's okay. But get a 10-gallon or 20-gallon long tank. Add a heater to it. Get a sponge filter. Do a layer of aqua soil capped by a thick layer of sand. I know I didn't mention that before, but you can see that in the video that I will be linking down below. Go check that out. So that, and then lots and lots of plants. And obviously I will be discussing tank mates later this week, so if you'd like to see that, please like this video and subscribe. And thank you guys for watching. I hope this video was helpful for you. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below or get in touch with me on Instagram or Facebook. Same name, same logo. I should be pretty easy to find. Good night, guys.